Hello, and today we start with a session on the leadership, the required virtues as per the present scenario, the global context, and the society as it moves forwards in the different directions and takes different course of action, and as various events unfold historically as well as globally as well as locally. What is required for leadership, what stands for leadership, and how the leadership has to react to all the changing scenarios. How seriously it has to be understood, how seriously it has to be comprehended, how seriously it has to be implemented, and what can be the light factor which can add to the enjoyment of leadership. That is very relevant in today's scenario. As I said, creativity has to be part of life, creativity has to be part of leadership, creativity has to be part of all problem solving, whether local or personal or international or global. So, creativity has to be a necessary feature in personal acts as well as all leadership acts. So, we can have the starting sentence as to when we talk about leadership, it is about sprinkling your creativity for leadership, for problem solving, and making sure that you sustain yourself as well as the surroundings in this ephemeral world. So, when I talk about ephemeral world, it is evident I am talking about constantly changing world. As we go down in the history, starting from the evolution of the mankind, we see that the mankind has evolved very slowly, very constantly, as well as in a very definite pattern, wherein we have been observing leadership traits evolving over the years and taking their prominence, and later on becoming part of the textbooks, later on becoming part of the examples which have been set forth as how the leadership should be. So, event by event things have been unfolding, and that is how leadership also has been evolving. Naturally, we have to look forward to leadership in a way wherein there is a sense of enjoyment also, so that the gravity of the situation does not take over one's leadership traits, and they are able to take it in a light manner and also make sure that the problem is solved. As the society evolved, we could see the initial traits of leadership when the men started showing leadership traits by making sure that the natural calamities and the problems of the day-to-day environment and the living, the sustaining and fighting with the enemies and fighting with the animals in the jungles could be taken care of. So, thereby the men evolved themselves, they developed their strengths in terms of physical strength, they developed their strengths in terms of fighting with the animals, they developed their strength in terms of making weapons which could be used for various things, on one side for cutting trees and other things, for burning the fire or making food, and on the other side to making weapons out of wood and other metals, so that they could make sure that they and their family, the sense of the family that was there of people who they thought they were part of their surroundings, they could be saved from the calamities. So, thereby the leadership evolved from the earlier period wherein the humans started evolving as they started living in jungles. Gradually, a sense of connectivity between the people started becoming more and more prominent. They realized that the group unit was an important thing. The larger the group or the bigger the group, it was a good chance that they could sustain themselves, and they could also defeat any other group which was coming from the other location, and they could overpower that group. So, sense of group created the first sense of community, the first sense of tribe, the first sense of local civilization, and thereby the society, the sense of society also started evolving, and gradually naturally there were people required who could take the lead in the society, the initial forming society, and they created some norms as to what should be done in the society, how people should be living together, how the larger group could make sure that they did not have any mutual confrontation in between, so that they could take care of the larger mission of protecting themselves from the bigger calamities as well as the bigger enemy groups which often try to attack and savage them in the surroundings of the jungles and other places. So, thereby leadership trait again evolved wherein we started seeing the tribes heads, the tribes subheads and the other people, and gradually the sense of specialization also started evolving, wherein the tribes head realized that different people had different expertise and they could be utilized, and thereby they could make sure that the best output from every contributor in the society could be taken, and thereby they could be well prepared for managing the calamities, societies as well as the day-to-day work. Naturally, the initial part of leadership was more meant on just managing the task in hand. It was not a long-term planning. Naturally, when we talk about long-term planning and leadership, these traits evolved much later. The planning was naturally not a very serious part in the earlier stages of human evolution, and even in the later stages of human evolution, it was leadership was more meant to immediately fend off the immediate incidents or immediate offense and or immediate situation, and thereby make sure that the situation in the hand was tackled. So, but still the sense of expertise started being evolved, and the leaders thought that they should divide the roles into different people in the community, and they should take on expertise role like cooking, like making weapons, like making some wearable clothes or some things which could be worn, and also some people were made sure that they developed their physical strength so that they could be in the front of the protective act whenever it was required, and then the women which were understood to be naturally the lot to be protected, and the children which were to be protected. So, gradually the roles started getting involved, and then gradually as the mutual rivalries between the groups kept on happening, so it was more and more realized that the larger the size of the group, the more it will be better to save their group from the other offending group or the savaging group, and thereby the concept of larger societies, the civilizations gradually emerged, wherein the civilizations made sure that the group was very large, it was spread across a much larger area in a geographical location, and the civilizations made sure that gradually the people adopted similar signs of living, similar patterns of living, similar patterns of behavior, and similar way of languages with communicating with each other, so that they could differentiate themselves from the attacking or the other rival tribes or groups or civilizations that came to conquer or to harm them. So, thereby the patterns of homogeneity, patterns of uniformity in language, cooking, behaving, interacting, and also expressing, they became evident as a part of this civilization. Naturally, the leadership role got further evolved, wherein the leaders were concerned as to how to create this homogeneity, how to create this uniformity, wherein the society or the civilization could have a definite pattern. People could have a definite way of expression, people could have a definite way of life, people could have a definite way of thought, and then also because gradually the elders in the society, they realized that the extension of the society or the extension of life depended upon a larger planning. So, thereby gradually some sense of planning also creeped into the leadership, and that is why then the social norms became more and more specific as to how the day was to be spent, when should the day be started and how the day should end, and how the physical and other strengths could be developed by a sense of disciplined way of living and a disciplined way of carrying out the exercises and disciplined way of carrying out the major activities throughout the day for men as well as for women, and gradually the categorization happened, and the evolution of the civilizations continued. So, the leadership was more concerned with the one task on one hand, that is the protection of the civilization or the group, and making sure they had the apt group of people to make sure that the group of people was there to protect the other people in the civilization. And then the other thing was to keep the other people binded to the civilization or the society by way of creating homogeneity or uniformity in their behavior. So what was their day-to-day routine, that had to be decided, and that became one of the major aspects of leadership. And gradually managing confrontation in between people within the same civilization, so that the group could be kept intact, so that it was a larger group in size as compared to the other rivalry group. And how to manage the internal conflicts, that also became very much relevant gradually as the society and civilization evolved. Side by side, naturally there were some leaders who kept on thinking as to how the new things could be brought to life, how new things for luxury, new things for ease of life could be brought to people, and they kept on doing their work. The evolution in this aspect happened in the area of weapons and arms, how they could be added more finish to those weapons, how the cooking food could be made more comfortable, how the more and more options were available for eating, experimentation on eating, experimentation on cooking, experimentation on weaponry, experimentation on other things, and gradually these things started happening. So gradually the civilizations became mega civilizations. We already have a very evident examples in Roman civilization, the Greek civilization, the Aryan civilization, as well as the Mesopotamia, as well as the Persian civilization, and all those things. Very relevant societies, very relevant and very old and very historic civilizations, which with a well-defined way of living, well-defined way of homogeneity within the groups, well-defined way of keeping themselves intact, well-defined way of refining themselves in the process. The elderly people get contributing more and more in the refinement of the living, refinement of the society. So leadership was also gradually directed towards refinement of living, refinement of society, refinement of interaction between the people, adding more value to what the interaction was. And gradually over the years we saw more and more interest in arts, more and more interest in culture, more and more interest in music and other things, which were as a part of the process to make sure that the value or the quality of life was refined and people could have more quality out of their life. So quality of life then gradually became one of the important aspects of leadership, how the quality of life could be added. So when we see gradual evolution, the first aspect of the leadership was focused on sustaining survival, and then making sure that the calamities were avoided, or calamities were warded off, or attacks were warded off. Then gradually spreading homogeneity within the society, spreading homogeneity within the civilization, and then the improvement in the quality of life by sporadic experimentation in everything from food to attires to protective gears to housing to shelters to then the overall area which the society lived in. So quality of life gradually took a big portion. But naturally the protection of the group always remained a very prominent part in the overall scenario, wherein the protection from the attacking groups had to be made sure that it was warded off. So gradually we had dynasties who organized themselves, the sultanates who organized themselves, and who also made sure that on one part the protection of the group was given due evidence, due prominence, as well as the quality of life was also given due prominence, and they tried to balance these things. We had different rulers which exhibited different examples of leadership. Some were very good and nicely balanced in both the aspects, defense, protection, as well as the quality of life. Whereas some people did not show the required balance between the defense, the quality of life, and also the administration, and they faltered at some of the other places. So we have very successful examples of leadership, we have very drastic examples of leadership, very miserable examples of leadership, because of the imbalance between the three major aspects, that is that is the quality of the people who could give due importance to the defense, due importance to the quality of life of the people who made the civilization, and the third aspect, that is the administration of day-to-day life, and which also involved managing the confrontation between the people within the same group. So gradually the societies evolved, and the scientific tempers also gradually developed, and with the evolution of the wheel, with the evolution of the motor, with the evolution of the engines, the first engines and the pulleys, gradually the scope of industrialization was also becoming gradually evident as to how one task could be done in a faster way and how it could be done in a some sort of automatic way. So we saw mechanization being added as one of the important component, which again changed the way the leadership was thinking, the way leadership was taking care of the whole group or the society or the civilization. So how to add mechanization, how to add small innovations like pulleys, engines, wheels and all those things. So gradually they became important, and they were taken up by various leaders so that again the quality of life could be improved. So the how enthusiastically these things were taken up, and how positively the future was looked at by the rulers, that decided the speed of the growth of the society, that decided the direction which the societies took. And we can see very evident examples as to how some societies progress very fast, whereas some societies took a long of time, length of very long duration to come to the same stage of growth and catch speed with the other societies, because of the differences in the approaches of the leaders as to how and which new things could be incorporated to focus on the main aspect, that is the quality of life of the people who are associated with the groups. So quality of life became the driving force, which also stimulated the thoughts of the people on research, thoughts of the people on industry relevant processes which could be termed as industrial, so that people realize that this process could be more productive as compared to the manual or the other process. So mechanization, industrialization, how much the leaders gave preference to these processes, that became one of the major factors which differentiated different civilizations. So we could see some examples. The civilizations in Great Britain, now the Great Britain and the around, they were very forward looking to developing the railways, tracks and other things, and thereby they could focus on the fact that the large scale production could be supported by more and more mechanization, more and more inputs of automation as well as the industry into the day-to-day work. So we could see that the development of a very broad network of railways, the development of ferrying carts across the whole geographical area, the country, that helped Great Britain to develop as a very massive force all over the world. So that is why the Great Britain, because of the forward-looking thinking and industrialization, they took a lead after that, and they became a force to reckon, and they naturally occupied many major geographical areas in the world, ranging from Great Britain in Europe to the Indian subcontinent, the Asian subcontinent, even the American continent, and they also migrated to Canada and other things. And so the leadership in that case started having more focused on the speed of the process, the efficiency of the process, the outputs, and general principles of industrialization, automation, as well as the technology. The technology became evident as the world progressed, and technology in fighting, technology in managing society, technology in managing day-to-day work, and technology in managing larger production of items which were for the human consumption, and as I said, technology for defense, wherein we saw development of guns with major destructive powers, the artilleries with the major destructive powers, how much power that destructive power that artillery had became a benchmark. So, on that a lot of mechanization, a lot of physical and other sciences were brought together, and gradually it was the rulers who decided, or the leaders who decided that such and such research should happen, such and such people should be involved in research, and the output from those research areas were incorporated for human defense, human quality of life, as well as human administration. So, these three always remain the major things. Naturally, over the years, gradually we saw the spread of the British rule across the globe. Then we saw the gradual change of the scenario, wherein the British rule started collapsing from the different areas, with different geographical countries and people separating themselves off from the British rule and declaring their own independence in America, in Canada, in India, and other places. So, the next phase of globalization made sure that the leaders understood that the quality of life was an important aspect, the people and their happiness was an important aspect, and the larger size of the society was one thing, and how to manage that larger part was another thing. So, that formed the another phase of the global growth and leadership, wherein people started settling down, and there emerged the larger picture of the globe, wherein we have the continents with various countries gradually settled down, and then we had another major span of period wherein the personal desires of the leaders took over, and then we had the world wars, wherein the expansion and the other desires were brought to the forefront, the hidden fears between the societies and the hidden fear of the progress of the other society as compared to the one's own society. They propelled the various civilizations and the countries into mutual wars, wherein we saw the First World War in the 20th century, the earlier part of the 20th century, then the Second World War. And with the side by side very progressive development in industrialization, mechanization, defense development, the research, scientific research, and side by side the medical research also developed to manage the soldiers who were going to war, and gradually more and more medical development, surgical developments happened. So, all in all, when we see now this world has further progressed, it has slightly realized that war does not serve the purpose, the war does not serve the ultimate purpose, and the world has formed the United Nations to make sure that issues are resolved, issues are discussed at a common platform, and the countries do not embark upon war between each other. So, a neutral area wherein countries can discuss their opinions in the form of United Nations has been there. Then we have global agencies have been set up, and so the evolution of leadership has been in that direction, that how international conflicts can be managed. So, leadership has gradually changed into international conflict management. That has been one of the important aspects through the formation of agencies, through the formation of the organizations like UNO, WHO, and other organizations which can help the crisis management internationally. So, the focus has evolved, the leadership has in many places has taken lead on forming these things, forming these platforms, so that international conflicts should be managed. So, as we see, leadership started from initial part of sustenance and day-to-day problem solving, then it evolved defense from the calamities, then it changed into improving the quality of life, then the added aspect was the mechanization, automation, and industrialization, then it was very rapid industrial growth, then formation of larger countries, then conflicts on the boundaries, and administration has always been one of the important component. And now, as we see, the world has progressed, wherein international conflict management systems have been set up, and people have the countries have somewhat settled down with their geographical outlines, but still because of some of the other geographical resources and mineral resources, conflicts keep on developing, and there is that is how the leadership tries to act in different areas and tries to make sure that problems are solved. So, when we see history as a backdrop in defining and commenting on the leadership, we define leadership and we comment on the leadership as successful or as miserable or unsuccessful in the way of how it has impacted the quality of life of the society. And naturally, one or the two aspects come to the fore. Even if we see today's scenario, the political scenario, gradually the political systems have also evolved in countries which have decided that they would not have a dynasty system, or they would not have a single ruler or autocracy or aristocracy. So, they have even developed into the progressive form of society, that is the self rule or the rule by the people or the democracy. So, we have a very different aspect for leadership, that is the managing the politics of a country. Politics has been generated with a sense of adding creativity to the society and its well-being, so that the negative aspects concerned with single rule or dynasty rule or aristocracy or autocracy can be avoided. But naturally, the politics has generated its own sense of issues which have to be solved, and thereby the aspects of leadership has also evolved along with the evolution of the politics. So, politics and its management has also become one of the important aspects of leadership. And as we see more and more countries managing themselves with the democracy and managing people, the politics at the local level, the national level and international level has become very prominent aspect in which the leadership traits are required. So, over the years, in the last century as well as in the first 2 decades of this century, also 21st century, we have been seeing very major transformations because of the changes in the political scenario, which has brought out various different leadership behaviors, different leadership responses from countries as large as America, countries as settled as UK, countries as refined as the European countries, countries as dynamically and scientifically and technically advanced like Japan, and now the evolving countries which have developed with a great speed with different system of political management, that is the China and other countries. So, all these countries have shown different priorities in their local management, and they have acted differently internationally because of their local pressures or local requirements, and somewhere some decisions have been good and some decisions have been bad. We have seen examples of the World War, we have seen examples of the Iran-Iraq war, we have seen examples of the Sino wars, we have seen examples of the European wars, the Portugal wars, the English and French wars. We have seen examples of the conflicts in the African continent. We have seen examples of conflicts in the Middle East, the Afghans and other cases. Very critical explanations have been given, political explanations have been given to all these conflicts, and somewhere the opinions have been that leadership at that time was good, very good, bad, excellent or very poor, and that has been the outcome. So, that brings us down to some focal points as to how these things could have been more better, how the leadership could have been more better in these cases. So, some points come out very strongly out of this thing, that leadership has to be creative. There has to be a sense of sincerity to the job, sincerity to the purpose. At many times we have seen that sincerity has been shaken because of the different personal gains which could be possible, which became part of the decision making process, which became the background of the decision making process. And so sincerity is one thing which has to be an important component of leadership. The sincerity of the thought, the sincerity of the purpose, sincerity of the welfare of the society, and sincerity of adding to the value of life. We have been constantly talking about value of life as which should be an important component of leadership. And Then the passion naturally has to be an important part of the leadership. At many times, at many incidences in the past, it has been seen that because of the absence of passion, some of the projects could not be taken up. Because of the absence of passion or a push from the leader, some things could not have happened. And because of the passion of some of the leaders to take a particular firm stand over some issues, the things could not materialize. So, passion is one of the aspects which very well becomes an integral part whenever efficient leadership is expected. So, how much passion is there and how much resilience is there? Naturally, to manage a group of people and to submit an idea and to get it approved by the society, naturally resilience has to be there. If there may be a failure, how to tackle that failure, and some decisions may go bad. So, how much resilience is there in the leadership, that has also been seen as a very prominent component which makes sure that leadership is to the point and effective. So, how much resilience was there, that has also been a very important component in the effectiveness of leadership, and how this leadership has been mentioned as successful or bad in over the years. So, resilience, passion, sincerity, then the fear of God, in a sense that making sure that making good to other people, the sense of doing good to the other people is more surmounting as compared to getting a task done at the cost of people. That has also been in many ways factors in which the leadership has been evaluated, that in this case the sense of doing good, or it may be called as the fear of God, did not play an important role in deciding the overall welfare of the society. That was one of the things. Similarly, we see many other things which form the part of the day-to-day leadership management and other aspects which we'll be discussing in the further sessions, and how in the present current scenario, the global scenario, how the things are unfolding, and how leadership can carry on constructively adding to the growth of the society, growth of the global society as such, with more creativity and in a lighter way. That will be the focus of our further discussion. The seriousness of leadership has to be there in the effort. The seriousness has to be there in the genuinity of the effort and the purpose through which the leadership is acting, and the sincerity of the purpose and the sincerity of the attitude through which the task is being done, and with a basic sense of welfare of the society. But naturally, during the leadership act, there should be a lighter vein, there should be creativity that should be very prominent, and that will be our focus of our further sessions, which we call as sessions on leadership over the years, society and nations between the years. Leadership over the years, we have already discussed gradually how it has been changing, and there are many things which have to be between the years and which have happened, which are always discussed between the years, and some are discussed very prominently. So, our sessions will be focusing on these aspects: leadership over the years, society and nations between the years, so that we can discuss these things in a lighter vein also. And another aspect will be sprinkling your creativity in this ephemeral world. The more and more leadership is concerned about adding creativity or sprinkling creativity, with the realization that the world is ephemeral, and the personal gains should not be the focus point. It will be a more and more better world. The leadership will be contributing to creating a society which will be better for the next generation. We will be continuing it in the next session. Thank you.